Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had a good lunch. And we are resuming the session after lunch. And I hope that I will have a lot of engagement from you. So after these three presentations, there will be a Q&A session where you will have an opportunity to be part of the discussion. I would like to thank the organizers, first of all, Asfar Ehsan and Nutshell Group for having me here today. And my topic, as you know, is about the future of Islamic finance. I hope it is working. Gee, it's working, thank you. So I need to time myself because I've been told I have 15 minutes. We will talk about, can you see the slides? Yeah. We talk about overview of Islamic finance, global perspective of Islamic finance, ESG framework in Islamic finance, and practical examples from Pakistan and way forward. Normally, when we talk about Islamic finance, the perception or generally the understanding of the people is that we are talking about some restrictions. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, this is a prohibition. So when people start with that mindset, the thinking is that there are too many restrictions, there are too many not to do things, and you are a naughty boy if you do one of those things. But just because we have a very diverse audience here, so just to take you on board, I'll very quickly cover what is Islamic finance and what is the source of Islamic finance. So Islamic finance, as you know, Islam is a complete religion, which is actually the equivalent word in Arabic is deen. I haven't come across an equivalent word in English, which is actually a way of life. So it is not just about your religious activities, but it's about the way you spend your entire day, 24 hours, 24 by 7. So the primary sources of divine law are basically there are four sources: Holy Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, which is consensus, and Qiyas. And we will not go into these details, but we will very quickly go into the important overview factors of Islamic finance. So if you look at the positive side of Islamic finance, the focus of Islamic finance is actually on value addition. You have to have some real assets. All the transactions have to be asset backed, and there has to be some value addition. Now this value addition can be in the form of goods. It can also be in the form of services. For example, you are providing some services to a customer. Service quality is very important. Customer service is very important. After-sales service is very important. So all these factors are actually part and parcel to Islamic finance. And that is actually the aspect which is not normally highlighted in our discussion. As I earlier mentioned, we are talking only about the prohibitions, what cannot be done, for what purposes Islamic finance cannot be provided. But I will try to kind of give you the positive aspect or the positive side of it as to what is Islamic finance exactly in terms of what you are doing and what are the specific principles that are being followed. So, as I said, asset-backed transaction based on fixed assets or liquid assets where actually some value addition is to be done. Now, normally, what is the purpose of finance? The purpose of finance is for you or anybody to undertake a business activity. And what is the objective of business activity? To create value. Either you create value, it's not either or, but you create value for your business and you create value for your customer as well. And these are some of the benefits of the profitability or the revenue or the value addition are shared by the entity providing those services, and some of them are shared with the customers and all the stakeholders. So that is actually the true essence of Islamic finance. Also, risk management is also an important part of Islamic finance where excessive risk or uncertainty is avoided. Very quickly, as you can see on the slide, the global Islamic finance industry was $3 trillion in 2021. It's growing by about 10 to 12%, and by 2023, we expect it to be $3.8 trillion. Now, when we talk about Islamic finance, then certainly we are talking about faith-based investing. And this is what we are going to talk about. Faith-based investing is a terminology used within the ambit of ESG framework and refers to investment in line with certain principles that are considered acceptable by certain religions. So there's an element of religion here, But let's very quickly look at the ESG factors. What are the ESG factors? And if I very briefly describe them, what is ESG? ESG is to protect your environment. E part of it, the social factor is to have social governance and to do social justice. And governance is certainly all the good deeds that you do. You don't do injustice to anybody. You look after the interests of everybody. So these are the three parts of ESG. And as you know, globally, ESG is a very big theme today. And irrespective of the religion, ESG is important. So when I talk to the different companies, I talk to the fund managers, all the time the investors are talking about whether you embed ESG in your investment considerations or not. And globally, there's a realization that today now, over the years, this was not such a common trend, but today we just don't have to talk about the profitability of the business for the shareholders, but it is the what are you giving to all stakeholders and what are you doing for the future generations. So the profit of today should not be at the cost of what are we passing on to the next generation. We have to protect the environment, we have to ensure social justice, and we also have to have good governance. Let's quickly look at some of the factors, and then we will relate them to Islamic finance, how they are related to Islamic finance. So in terms of environmental factors, environmental management, greenhouse gases emissions, energy management, water management, waste and hazardous materials management, impact on biodiversity. These are the key themes in the E segment of the ESG. In terms of social segment, workforce training, workplace safety and employee well-being, diversity and inclusion, human rights and community engagement, data security, global health and safety. And in the area of governance, following the business ethics, anti-corruption policies, disclosure practices, sustainability reporting, internal controls, discipline and audit, and shareholders' rights. Rather, I would say it's stakeholders' right more than this shareholders' rights. So these are the different parameters of ESG which is globally being recognized as important for every business. If we move on to the next slide, we will see how Islamic finance principles references can be made to that can be attributed to modern day ESG factors from the Quran and Hadith of Holy Prophet. And I will quote some of them, and I will try to give you, and I don't have to explain anything, you will understand yourself how they are related to the ESG factors. So in the Quran it says, do not commit abuse on the earth and spreading corruption. Remember we talked about anti-corruption policies. There is none amongst the Muslims who plants a tree or sows seeds and then a bird or a person or animal eats from it, but it is regarded as a charitable gift for him. Let's talk about the green, right? Green revolution, plantation. Don't waste water if you were at a running stream. Water conservation, this is a very big problem in the ESG framework today. There is a reward for serving any living being. So these are the principles which are embedded in Islamic principles and Islamic finance, and these are pretty much the ESG factors that we are talking about. Let's move on, and we talk purely about the environmental factors. And I will quote, you can read them, but I will quote one of two of them. The earth is green and beautiful, and Allah has appointed you as stewards over it. Take care of the earth, take care of the assets, of the human resources, of the natural resources, of the living beings that they are in this world. So men or human beings are actually being made steward over it. Whoever plants a tree and diligently looks after it until it matures and bears fruit is rewarded. And there is no creature within the earth or bird that flies with its wings except there are communities like you. We have not neglected in the register a thing. They unto their Lord will be gathered. So these are the environmental factors we are talking about. Then we talk about the social factors. Whoever kills a human being without any reason, manslaughter or corruption on earth, it is as though he had killed all mankind. And in their wealth, there is acknowledged right for the needy and destitute. Cooperate with one another for virtue and heedfulness, and don't cooperate with one another for the purpose of vice and aggression. Do not destroy the villages and towns. Do not spoil the cultivated fields and gardens, and do not slaughter the cattle. The believer is not he who eats his fill while his neighbor is hungry. Again, all these social factors that we talk about in ESG. And next, very quickly, we'll talk about governance factors. If God appointed anyone ruler over a people and he died while he was still treacherous to his people, God would forbid his entry into the paradise. And Hazrat Umar mentioned, if a dog dies hungry on the banks of the river Euphrates, Umar will be responsible for dereliction of duty. There's a hadith, whosoever of you sees an evil action, let him change it with his hand, and if he is not able to do it, then with his tongue, at least try to stop him verbally, and if he is not able to do so, then with his heart, at least feel or have a feeling that this is something which is bad. And that is the weakest of faith. So these are again very, very close to the governance factors. So practically, when I talk about the future of Islamic finance, I'm talking about basically how its global adoption is going on. It is not being adopted only in Islamic countries or people who believe in Islam. It's certainly there are some aspects of Islamic finance which are applicable to Muslims only, but all these factors that we talked about, they are part and parcel of ESG, and at the same time, they are part and parcel of Islamic finance. Because I was asked to give some practical examples of how Islamic finance has flourished in Pakistan, so I'll show you a couple of short graphs how Islamic finance has evolved in this country and what lies ahead for us. So this is an example of the first Islamic bank in Pakistan, Meezan Bank. And if you look at it, it was a very small bank in the beginning. And if you see, you can see how its deposits have grown over the years. So from one of the smallest banks in the country, it has grown tremendously in the last 20 years, from 2002 to 2021. And you can see the purple bar going up every year, and actually now among the top 4 or 5 banks in the country. So it is just an example of how if you embed your Islamic finance in your operations, not only in terms of eliminating riba, but all the practices like service quality, customer services, use of technology, how there's an opportunity to grow. And this we have seen in case of Meezan Bank. And the second example I will give you about Al-Meezan Investments. If you can see, Al-Meezan Investment was one of the smallest asset management company in Pakistan, again, based on the same principles of Islamic finance. And you can see the progression over the years from 2003 to 2022, about 19 years journey as to how it has grown over the years. Now, it is not that it has grown or these companies have grown just because of faith. Certainly, there are a number of institutions which are practicing Islamic finance in Pakistan, and even before these entities came into existence, it was being practiced in the country to some extent. But the point is that the principles, the religious factors have to be combined with all the ESG factors which are important for sustainability. Next, I will give you an example of Faisal Bank, which was again very recently. Faisal Bank has been in existence in Pakistan for a very long time. And if you look at Faisal Bank, it has recently completed its conversion from a conventional bank to a full-fledged Islamic bank. And in January 23, and now it is a fully Islamic bank with 639 Islamic banking branches. And it is the largest conversion of a conventional bank into an Islamic bank in the world. And this is another indication that Islamic finance is getting a lot of traction in Pakistan. Now, all this needs to be looked at in the context of the judgment of the Federal Sharia Code, which has given us all about 5 years to convert fully into an Islamic financial system. And certainly we all stakeholders, be it the individual investors, depositors, or companies, creditors, regulators, Ministry of Finance, we all need to work collectively. We all need to work together actually to achieve this objective. Finally, I would conclude, because I've been given a warning to conclude, it is becoming increasingly evident that the world is placing greater emphasis on ESG factors. At the same time, they are probably more or less the same factors of Islamic principles of governance, social justice, and environmental protections. These practices or principles were established over 1400 years ago and are now being recognized as being in line with the contemporary ESG framework. The convergence of values and principles is not only taking place in Pakistan, but also globally. As a result, we believe that Islamic finance has a promising future as it aligns with the increasing acceptability of ESG framework. Thank you very much.